What's up, guys? Are the Raptors back? 101-81 win. Obviously, see the smile on my face over the Miami Heat. And Raptors looking like a totally different team now. Friday, January 22nd. Just going to do a little post-game recap with the Raptors and the Heat. Guys, I'm on YouTube, obviously on the podcast, wherever you get podcasts from, Spotify, anywhere. Subscribe, like, show some love, comment. But let's get into it right now. So Raptors went up 37-20 to start this game and looked really good. The defense today is what I think was really the turning point for this team. This is some defense that we've seen in and out from the Raptors over their past few games, but right now when the Raptors are defending like this, granted Miami was missing arguably their two best players in Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, two of their best offensive players, it was really hard for Miami to score today. Let's give credit where credit's due. Norm Powell came to ball today. Ended up dropping 23, arguably the team's best player. But I'm going to give player of the game, to be honest, to OG, a guy who might have converted me over to buy a Raptors jersey for him with the new Jordan third jersey that the Raptors have. But getting back to the game, ends up dropping 21. Did a good job, had a few sidestep threes, moved really well without the ball, caught an alley-oop. But really where he, makes his money is on the defensive end of the ball. And what I really liked today that you don't see from a lot of NBA players was just his willingness to run through screens, some big bodies, and really not down in the screens like a lot of NBA players do. He ran through pretty much everything, challenged every shot. Even when guys scored on him, the rare times that they did, he was really able to, give his best effort defensively. And we saw that also from Pascal today. Now, offensively, didn't have the best game, 15 and 14. But he's another guy today when he did a job on Olynyk at the top of the key, even to the three-point line, and forced Kelly to put the ball on the floor, something that he doesn't want to do. More of a shooter, more of even like a back-to-the-basket kind of guy. When you're making him put the ball on the floor, really will run into some trouble. Wasn't much help on that play, but what he ended up doing, I believe it was late in the third, early fourth, ended up getting the charge. And the Raptors, once again, just turned defense into offense. Fred, not the best game offensively, that's cool. Ended up just dropping 13, 5, and 7, playing without Kyle Lowry, another win. And Fred just was really smart with the ball today, identifying guys that were open, also getting himself open to free himself up, shooting the ball decently, but more so getting guys involved, being a really steady playmaker, a ball handler for this team who doesn't always have ball handlers available. And like I said, really just did a good job finding guys that were open, playing to their strengths. And then what they did, Miami, a lot of times was they would trap Fred up top, knowing that he was by far the team's best ball handler with Kyle out. Not too many guys really able to come and get the ball out of his hands. And they tried to get the Raptors to turn the ball over, but they did an amazing job, to be honest, of just not turning the ball over much at all. Then also offensively, Raptors getting 12 offensive rebounds, winning the rebound battle, 12-4 on the offensive end, and then total rebounds 45-32. Shot the ball well from three. We're slowly seeing the Raptors take less threes. Only shot 40 today only. Typically, we've seen them, I've been on this podcast before talking about when they're shooting 50, not something you want to be seeing. Hit 17 out of the 40 there for 42%. And Miami only 33 made field goals, only able to get 81 points. And like I said, it's tough to kind of gauge this game for the Raptors because Jimmy Butler, the team's best player, was out. He's been out for most of the season. Tyler Hero as well. So you didn't really have the spacing with Miami. But like I said, what can you do? We're going to judge a game based on who played today. Kendrick Nunn did a really good job today, scoring 22. Defensively, Raptors really attacked him. Same with Duncan Robinson and also Kelly Olynyk, who typically won't see 20 minutes a game. But the Heat right now just decimated with the health and safety protocol guys that have coronavirus. That being Jimmy Butler, Myers Leonard, Tyler Hero. So and Avery Bradley too. Like three of at least two of their better defenders and probably two of their best scorers that they have on this team. But Raptors are going to take this win. And looking at their schedule coming up, two tough games at Indiana. Indiana ended up winning a pretty big game today in overtime. Brogdon hit the three late. But with Miles Turner back, if he's going to play these two games for the Raptors, it's going to be really tough. He's really come on strong. To be honest, him and Embiid are my guys for Defensive Player of the Year. When he's in the game, I believe he's averaging like 4 blocks a game, unheard of. And Indiana is really a totally different team when he's there. They're a team that I like, to be honest, to go on a Miami Heat type run like they did last year, maybe making a trip to the finals. I don't want to sleep on them. But looking at with the Raptors schedule, like I said, we've got 2 games with Indiana. The Bucks coming up. Bucks coming off a tough loss yesterday. Chatting with Zane as I usually do, and he thinks that that's going to be the final of Lakers against Milwaukee. I also want to touch on LeBron James, and I've given him some slack, as you guys know, at times. But there's no real doubt in my mind right now that he's the best player in the league. He showed that again last game against Milwaukee. It's tough when you've won so much, and this goes for even the Raptors in terms of regular season wins, to kind of bring that every night. Now, with Anthony Davis and LeBron not really giving their best statistic nights at all times, but it's tough to go, 82 games last year or whatever they ended up playing due to COVID, going into the bubble, going to the finals, game after game after game, short off season. You can't look at these guys and really expect 25 and 10 every game. They're going to kind of dip in production, and that's totally fine. That's why they brought in guys like Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, to kind of pick up that offensive punch whenever those guys are either fatigued or just kind of don't have it that night. So with Milwaukee, I just saw when they played the Lakers, just not, Lakers are a great defensive team, but with Milwaukee, I haven't seen the growth that I wanted to see from Giannis Antetokounmpo. We know he's a 2-time MVP, but I haven't seen, there's been that kind of connection with Anthony Davis and Giannis, to be honest, the last 3 years. And just due to the fact that Giannis is what MVP has kind of masked the fact that he hasn't really been able to grow his game, shooting the ball really at all, 15 feet onwards, 23, 25 feet to the 3-point line. And teams as we've seen in the playoffs really give him some problems, or when they're going to kind of play off him, force him to shoot those shots. And he hasn't been able to do that, especially not consistently at all. And for the Raptors going into that game, if you're going to win a few games, even split with Indiana, you want to get back into the playoff picture. Milwaukee's going to be a tough one for sure. But that's a game where you kind of want to gauge where you're at in the Eastern Conference. Because as this team is right now, I believe that they picked up their 6th win today, 6-8, still 6-9, sitting at 12 in the East. Miami 6-8. It's really log jammed, and with all of the COVID protocols going on, with so many players missing time, I feel like towards anywhere between like where the Raptors and even Charlotte's tied with them at 6-9, the next team is Wizards, who at 3-8 have just been decimated as well by the coronavirus, with Westbrook, Beal going down, missing some time. That 13-6 mark, even, where the Brooklyn Nets at 9-8 sitting at 6. There's very few elite teams right now in the East. We see Philly, which I'm going to get to probably another time, and talk about Embiid. Always been my pick for MVP this year. Sitting at 11-5, they had some COVID issues as well. Indiana and the Bucks both at 9-6 right now, 2nd and 3rd, and then Boston. Tatum's missed a lot of time, really leaning on Jaylen Brown to do what he's done, show that he's an all-star this year. And then also, we haven't really seen Kemba Walker come in and really establish himself. We know that he had knee surgery in the offseason. He's not going to come in and set the world on fire. What the Celtics really need to do is just kind of get him ready to a point where in the playoffs, they're firing on all cylinders. Cleveland, surprisingly, 8-7. I think that getting Jared Allen for them and Taurean Prince is really going to help them on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Brooklyn, I'll wait for Igor for that one. Don't look so good right now, but as I've talked about before, with the Miami Heat, when LeBron James went there, just so many superstars kind of sharing the ball at usage rates that they're not going to see with 2 other superstars in the league. It's going to take some time to kind of gel. The defense, am I kind of worried about it? 100%. But offensively, they're putting up points. We know that Igor's going to like this, similar to LeBron James's teams. Brooklyn's going to get some guys at the deadline, whether they be buyout, trades. They're not going to go into this identical team going into the playoffs. They're too small. And then the Knicks and Atlanta, 2 teams a bit of a surprise. Also Chicago, all around 8-8, 7-8. So the Raptors really do kind of have their work cut out for them. Not even just in terms of having to pick up their game and play games similar to like they did today, but just having to leapfrog so many teams in a short season. Most teams in the NBA played around 15, 16 games. So you're looking at about another 50 to 55, depending on if this league kind of, due to COVID protocol, ends up maybe shortening it a little bit. But I'm not as down on the Raptors as I was before. That being said, I think it's more so due to the fact that they couldn't have been any worse, as I talked about before. Slowly getting guys back. Fred has been the one consistent guy, like I said, all season. Siakam, it looks like he's kind of trending upwards, although once again today offensively not one of his best games. OG's kind of providing some stability, both ends of the floor. His defense always there, but as I talked about earlier, just him being able to put the ball on the floor just a little bit, even if it's just like a sidestep three that he's been taking, he looks really good shooting that. And then defensively, we know that he's a bull. But there's just a lot of teams the Raptors really going to have to jump here. And Orlando is another team. So they got Indiana with the 2 games, Milwaukee, Sacramento, a team that looks really bad right now. They're playing the Knicks tonight. Should pick up the win. Orlando's really been lost since they've lost both Fultz and Cole Anthony's really stepped into the starting spot. Anytime you're throwing a rookie into lead your offense at the point guard position, it's going to be rough. So that's going to wrap up January 31st. And then going into the next, going into February, you got Orlando. Once again, you got a 2-game series with them. And then Brooklyn. By that point, to be honest, that's 2.5 weeks away. I think Brooklyn's really going to be firing on all cylinders. Tough matchup for them. And you have some winnable games here. Atlanta, Memphis, and Washington. If you want to make the playoffs, these are some games you're going to need to win. And then we got Boston, Minnesota, 2 games with Milwaukee again. Very tough. Minnesota, a team who's going to be, once again, possibly picking first overall for the second consecutive year. And then Philadelphia, who's going to be, the Raptors historically have been really good against Philly. This year, it's going to be a really big adjustment. I don't know who you're going to throw at Joel Embiid. Not like anybody's stopping him anyway these days. But the Raptors just don't have the bodies. Speaking of big bodies, got to give a little bit of due to Aaron Baines, who today, after being not good for most of the season, stepped in today, played some really good defense, protected the rim, had a bunch of blocks, chipped in with a few points. I know he didn't have too much, but it's just good to see some type of contribution from the center position, a spot where the Raptors really have gotten nothing from all season. Boucher, again, looks like he's kind of trending in the right direction. Warranted minutes for him. He was, once again, a boss today on both sides of the floor. And the Raptors really, I guess, looking for all of their guys that are going to kind of contribute to play defense. And we saw that today, giving up the 81 points. Stanley Johnson, we've seen him get a lot of minutes recently. Tonight again, ended up getting 13, which for him is a lot. Boucher 5 and 5, 19 minutes, didn't need him too much. Terrence Davis came in and dropped 12. And then Malachi Flynn came in. It's tough. When we saw him in the preseason, he looked almost like a polished Fred VanVleet, going against some backups and that type of stuff against the Charlotte Hornets in those few games. He hasn't exactly set the world on fire, but we're not really rushing to any conclusions here because with Malachi, we know that most of the Raptors guards, and any guard, is really going to take some time to develop how to run the pick and roll. His floater was a little bit off today. He beat his man off the dribble, took maybe like a 14-foot floater, and it wasn't close. But we just want to see some strides from guys like this. We're not expecting them to come in and shoot 4 for 5 from the field every night. But it's good to see him really get some time, really build his confidence, and I think that's going to be important for him. And in case one of their guards go down, we know that Powell is a guard. I wouldn't really necessarily want to put the ball in his hands to run the offense. So it's good to, like I said, groom Malachi, him and Terrence Davis to play that backup point guard when you have both Fred and Kyle starting, just for some insurance. Paul Watson got some minutes today, Jalen Harris towards the end of the game in garbage time. But like I said, you're really going to want some guard stability because with COVID, Raptors, to be honest, very lucky haven't run into any of that yet. Probably inevitable as every team is going to run into it. But Raptors looking good, very surprised. And going to kind of, like I said, we're going to monitor to see how they do because it's going to be very tight getting into the playoff picture. And to be honest, if the Raptors, for whatever reason, don't make the playoffs, which is still an uphill battle at this point, we're going to have to hope that the basketball gods are on the Toronto Raptors side, that possibly they can run into a Chicago Bulls. I let Derrick Rose winning the lottery when you finish 9th. Raptors could use some help on that side if they manage to not make the playoffs, because I don't think that this team is a bottom 3 team in terms of talent. There's just too many bad teams. Minnesota, Detroit, Golden State's picked it up. They're a team that me and Igor are going to talk about as well. But Sacramento's going to be at the bottom. Charlotte's going to be towards the bottom. Orlando's maybe one more injury away from being really bad. So the Raptors, like I said, they're gonna just, with Masai knowing how he is, might pull the trigger on the trade. I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't. It's gonna be curious to see what happens with Kyle Lowry, what happens just in regards of trades, and what towards the end of the season, if the Raptors going to hold on to him because he has an expiring contract at $30 million a season. If the Raptors are out of the race at that point, does Masai pull a trade to possibly get a first round pick for him, because we know there will be a lot of takers. Guy who's won a championship, great defensively, can run an offense, play on or off the ball. Teams like the Lakers, Boston, Philly, anybody in the West, we know that Kawhi Leonard would love him with the Clippers. I'm not sure if they have the assets. But there's going to be a lot of demand for some of the Raptors guys. If, even Norm, Pascal, if this team were to, like I said, take a dive and go downwards in terms of the standings, would the calls come? Would Masai be willing to pull the trigger? Now, things are not as bad as they were towards the beginning of the season, turning it around. But time will tell if this team runs into, like we said, 2 games in Milwaukee, Indiana 2 games, Orlando, Sacramento's a game you're going to win, and then Brooklyn, where this team's going to stand. And I think that in 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot better idea as to if this team is a contender for a playoff spot, or if it's just, a forgettable season, you kind of call it a wash playing in Tampa in a pandemic, and you kind of, look forward towards next season, just use this as a growth. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Quick thing. And Raptors, like I said, next game's coming up is Sunday at, I believe they pushed the game. It was supposed to be 3:30. They're pushing it to 1:30. So I'll check that one out for sure. Good luck to the Bills. I guess, Toronto's local team. They're going to be going up against a very tough Pat Mahomes, coming off a concussion. I don't think he's going to be 100%. Give me the, let me run through that right now. Give me the Bills in that game, and give me Aaron Rodgers, my quarterback, against Igor's Tom Brady. Give me the Bills against the Packers in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to make a Super Bowl pick yet, but we'll come back to that and talk about that as well. Enjoy the Raptors weekend game, guys, against Indiana, and we'll chat after that home and home. I'll have you go on the podcast next. Have a good one.